Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the Amazing Spider-Man issue 16. Yeah. And this is a pretty cool cover. Thing is, I love when you have a cover that actually pertains to what's going on, and Spidey and Chasm do fight in this issue. And it's definitely kind of interesting, because that takes up most of the bulk of it, and then pretty much positioning, Hallows Eve and Brock and Pryor into whatever positions they're going for their part of the whole dark web. Now, granted, I do like that it takes up more of we get more of this stuff going on between Pete and Ben on what's going on, but I do like that we understand that there's other shit going on in there. So we pretty much start off the issue with Ben's version of events of Peter being a dill hole and fucking breaking a device and like telling him to get his own life and then tossing him into radioactive goo. And then we switch over to a really good shot of them in their like kind of crouch positions ready to fucking go at it as we see two guys driving being like we gotta get the fuck out of here. And Peter's pretty much just like hitting on him, being like, that's not how events went down. He's like, that's how I remember it. You just said your memory was destroyed. Just like the back and forth between them works very well, where Ben is not giving any kind of like ground on this, and Pete's just trying his best to kind of figure out what's going on. He's like, Pete then being like, listen, whoever threatens the city is has a problem. And he's like, oh yeah, we have a big problem, as they then start fighting. And I do like how we get different kind of panels here where they're different kind of sizes, showing different kind of stuff, like Chasm using his web shooters, Pete punching and everything. They're kind of like going around, Pete using a sentient scooter to like attack Chasm. He's like, yeah, you kind of have to remember, I've been doing this longer. And the poor scooter's like, God, why is this happening to me? And then Pete's able to kind of like dodge Chasm, and Chasm's like, where the fuck are you? He's like, oh, I got my spider sense, and it can now go on the offensive ever since he got dropped in some radioactive goo. And that he's got other kind of powers as well, where he shoots his like webs to kind of like turn him into a battle axe and different kind of stuff. It really goes for a nice kind of different kind of flow of what's going on, going from the whole his spidey sense actually going on the offensive, and then actually utilizing his webs to like make objects and shit. Pete being like, I'm not really impressed, as then we see him doing the same kind of thing and then hitting Peter more on it. Let's see. Then we shift over to Hallows Eve, Brock, and Pryor as they're doing their kind of stuff, talking about like that the treehouse is like a Christmas tree with like digitized souls all wrapped up like presents. I'm like, oh, okay. And then pretty much uses Hallows Eve to get Brock into position, which just amounts to her kicking him somewhere. And then mainly that he's going to be like a diversion, and that this work requires dexterity, and that Hallows Eve won't let her down. Let's see here. And then Chasm's trying to show Pete something while Pete's like punching him, saying Merry Christmas. I got you a new concussion. It just fits Pete. It's like, alright, we're in a shitty situation. Fuck you. And then Ben's like, hey, that thing's borrowed. Don't fuck with that shit. And then pretty much talking about how Pete can't beat him. And I really just love the artwork of showing the kind of differences of like the jaggedness of Chasm's kind of stuff, where Pete's are more kind of angular and rounded in certain kind of instances. And then Chasm pretty much is like, listen, you've been pulling your punches so long, I've got the power, none of the responsibility. It's like, I understand you trying to flip that kind of thing, and this isn't a writing thing, this is definitely Chasm's kind of thinking. It's like, yeah, but if you misuse your power stupidly, usually the consequences come to like beat your fucking ass. And Pete's pretty much like, I don't want to hurt you, and he's like, that's why you're going to lose. And then he just starts racking on him because he keeps calling him Ben, and he's like, call me Chasm while I'm working. And then he utilizes the ball thing, and calling Pete his white whale, and that he's going fishing, and then we see that it's kind of like a thing that shows him Jonah and Robbie, and he's like, where are they? And he's like, they're in limbo, and he's like, take me to them now. And of course he needs Pete to pretty much say, take me to limbo. He's like, yep, all you had to do was ask. And then of course this like eldritch monstrosity thing comes and like tentacle wraps Peter as he loses his helmet, and he's like, yep, you're going to limbo. And he's like, I'll be back, man. He's like, no, I'll be down with you soon enough. When you open your eyes, you'll be in your new home, but I'm going to take a few minutes to enjoy this because it's been a fantastic day. It's like, oh, screw you, Ben. So Pete then opens his eyes. He's getting yelled at. He looks like he is working at like the Daily Bugle kind of thing, and we see that it's a kind of hell version. He's being told to get to work, and he's like, oh boy. It's like, yep, that's a fucking place to kind of end on. So we'll kind of see what goes on. Pete being in limbo is not the best scenario, because it definitely works with Ben's plan to pretty much try and steal his soul and become Peter. We'll have to see how Pete gets out of this. What people will be potentially able to kind of help him with this, or just how he's able to get out if he does this pretty much by himself. It's definitely going to be a crackdown fight between him and Chasm. Hopefully he's able to talk sense into him or figure out a way in limbo to help kind of rectify the kind of fucked up mental place that Ben's at. Now granted, I don't know how much the X-Men are going to kind of factor into at least this portion, but of course since they're kind of involved as well in like the dark web, we'll see how that kind of works out. Ms. Marvel also could potentially be a wild card at play because we don't know exactly what Ben did with her. So Pete might have that kind of alliance kind of been able to do that in limbo depending upon what kind of works out. But I enjoyed this because it was nice to kind of see Pete and Ben kind of like fighting and kind of understanding their motivations of what's going on, and the artwork just really fit for me. I just really liked how Pete and Chasm were represented with their artwork flow and their flow of combat as well. Like showing characters in action is a big kind of thing, and you definitely got to see the differences in fighting styles between Peter and Chasm, especially with his new kind of abilities. So that's always a good thing to kind of see, especially when new and different kind of powers and motivations are on the table for a character. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.